Okay, you're done with your file. You have all 6 of your compositions here in place. You've completed the layout. They line up nicely with the grid. You're ready to go whether to print this or to turn it in. So I'm going to show you 2 different things. Number 1, if you want to print it. You cannot just send the regular InDesign file to the ink station. You can print this at the ink station on the first floor, but you cannot send this file. Just like with Critique, you're going to want to make it a PDF here. So we're going to go up here to File and down to Export. So unlike Illustrator, there's no Save As. You just go to Export and you go ahead and then you can specify that you just want the PDF, the print one. That's normally what it will default to. If for some reason later on you need a different version, you can see all the options available. But for purposes of class, we want the PDF. For printing, you want the PDF. JPEGs will not produce as good of quality. Go ahead and click Save. There's some default options here. Normally the defaults are fine. You may decide if you're sending this to print, you do want to check under marks and bleeds crop marks, and that will go ahead and put the little corner markers to help you. You don't necessarily need that because the PDF, you can do the math and actually know what the measurements are separate from the crop marks. You go ahead and click export and it will process it. Basically, it does the equivalent of what happens when you print a file, only instead of printing it, it makes it digital. So now here on my desktop, I have a PDF of the project, which is openable, and that's what we use in Critique. That's also what you need to print it through the ink station, or if you had somebody else print it. So you can see the file here. The other thing when you're ready to go to turn this in, you need to package it. This will gather everything you need in any layout assignment to turn it in. It will gather the fonts, it will gather the images if there are some, there's not in this first assignment, and it will gather the actual file. It will also make a PDF file for you. It'll do everything. So this might be helpful too at the end, instead of making a PDF separately, to do this and you would have everything you needed. So what we want to do is come up here to File and down to Package. In both InDesign and Illustrator, there's a package function that allows you to do this. So on this first screen, it's run some processing. It's telling you that there are no issues. If there was an issue with your project, there would be a yellow triangle with a black exclamation point here. The most common ones, especially when you get to a later assignment where you're using images, is that it's not high enough resolution or that it's using RGB color space. Because this is print, we always want CMYK. And you can click through and kind of get an idea of the options, but for your purposes, you probably don't care about the remainder of those options. Just click the package button. It's saying I need to save my file, so I'm allowing it. It has to have the file saved. If I was sending this out to a professional printer, not one of the on-campus or FedEx office, I would probably put my contact information and any instructions I have in here. We don't need to worry about that for purposes of this. We're going to go ahead and click continue. And then I'm just going to set it for the desktop for now. If you guys happen to set up a box sync or box drive folder, you could save it to there. Or if you have some other folder structure, go ahead and save it there. We want to go ahead and copy fonts. It says except for Typekit. So your instructor should know that if it's Typekit, that's why the fonts are not in the folder. If you used other fonts, they will be copied, especially important for layout 2. It will copy any graphics if there are some. You'll notice it also makes an IDML file, which is so that someone who doesn't have the current version that you're using of Adobe can open it, as well as it makes a PDF. I do recommend making sure these are checked. Especially if for some reason your instructor does not have the most current version of the Adobe products and does not have access to them, at least they can still see the file. Go ahead and click package. It's going to give you a warning about fonts because you are not supposed to distribute fonts. However, there are exceptions to that, such as when you're printing it, or it is also fine for turning in this assignment. Go ahead and click OK, and it does the work now. It's doing all the heavy lifting for you. Everything that shows up in this folder now is what you need to turn in. So you can see it made a PDF, put a copy of the InDesign file, it's put this IDML file that allows you to access the content from a lower version of InDesign, and then it put any document fonts I entered. Since mine were not using sync, they show up. You may not have this folder if you use Typekit to sync fonts. Just as a warning, you can now move this, as I said, if you set up Box Sync or Box Drive, move it in there. If you are copying this onto Box and have not done that, it will not let you copy folders. You can control click or right click on the folder and send to compressed on a Mac. There is a similar function on a PC. Again, that by right clicking on it will allow you to compress it. You go ahead and click the compress. It makes what's called a zip folder. It looks like it has a little zipper on it. You can move that onto Box all at once and then link that to your instructor, and they can, when they download it, they'll go ahead and unzip it. It's actually faster in some ways because the Box Sync or the Box folder will have to do this process anyway to download, so something to keep in mind. But that's how we go ahead and turn in the assignment and make sure we have everything we'll need by using the package function. And for printing purposes, we always want to send the PDF.